we're moving to Mayberry.
It didn't take a lot to convince Dee Dee and her daughter Gypsy Rose to make a new home in Aurora. They already knew it was meant to be.
It is the perfect town. The perfect skies. It took something like a hurricane to make us have a happy ending.
Dee Dee was.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. And I want to introduce you to Munchausen mother number one, Dee Dee Blanchard. Now, I have spoken a little bit about this woman before on this channel. And now with the release of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, it's time to come back around to this topic again. On this channel, we've been focused on alleged Munchausen target Jazz Jennings. And the reason why I say alleged is obviously for liability purposes. But I want you guys to see, I want you guys to know what Munchausen by proxy used to be and what it's becoming today. Now, obviously, we're not going to cover this in one episode, but let's get to know Dee Dee, who's, Dee Dee's not here anymore. Dee Dee was ended by Gypsy Rose. And we're going to delve all the way into Gypsy Rose. We're still going to keep up with Jazz Jennings. We're going to see how far Munchausen by proxy goes, because even with Gypsy Rose being out now in society, a lot of people hear this story face value and they'll think like, oh my God, that's great. Jazz is out, Gypsy is out. Gypsy gets to live a normal life. Finally, she gets to live a normal life, after everything the mother has done to her. And face value, I would feel the same way. But you need to understand the web that goes into Munchausen by proxy, borderline personality disorder, narcissism, sociopathy, and more. We're going to look at Dee Dee a little bit, and kind of some of the stuff that she was saying in the past, and we're going to look at Jeanette. All of these people have a part to play in what they did to their children. So it's going to get very interesting on this channel. So if you guys like the content, please consider hitting the like button, because it is on and popping with this subject.
Happy enough just having medical care for Gypsy. She says she never expected this.
It's amazing. It's amazing, the outpouring of love and support.
Dr. Janet Jordan met Dee Dee and Gypsy while on a mission trip to the hurricane-ravaged areas. She says she knew right away she'd see them again.
They're like lost souls who were meant to have been born and raised in Aurora.
It turns out St. John's already owned this house, and with the help of local donations, it was turned into a home.
I think that's just kind of what we're all about. We're all about doing what we can to help people that are in a bad situation.
It's beautiful.
So even when you look at Gypsy right here, so Gypsy went through a lot with her mother, saying that she had muscular dystrophy, all kinds of cancers, everything. She had her salivary glands removed because she said she had a drooling problem. But in fact, Dee Dee was giving her something to make her drool too much. But they say that Gypsy had muscular dystrophy to the point where she couldn't walk anymore. But what I don't understand with these medical professionals, and I'm not, trying to undermine them, but when you look at Gypsy and her position, her posture here, she's not somebody who's lacking muscle tone. And we'll see more of that as time goes on. But there's signs that show that something wouldn't be adding up. But this case, though, like I said, Dee Dee was very meticulous in everything. And even them finding this house for them, Dee Dee probably already knew that they had the house. So meticulous, okay? We will start with the basic definition of what Munchausen syndrome by proxy is, which is a mental illness that comes in the form of child. I don't want to say this word, so we'll say child not right doings, okay? Sorry, guys, but you know what it is. It's YouTube. And the caretaker of the child, most often the mother, either makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms to make it look like the child is sick. Dee Dee went out of her way with Gypsy. Dee Dee was saying she was convinced that as an infant child, she had sleep apnea. She claimed that she had an unspecified chromosomal disorder, muscular dystrophy. Like I said, I'm giving you a quick rundown right now, but we're going to have other episodes getting into exactly all the sicknesses, how Dee Dee went about making it seem like this child was sick. But one of the ways was that she was poisoning the food with Roundup, and also, of course, hospital shopping, just going from hospital to hospital to hospital, which was easier to do back in the day because, there wasn't more of a centralized type of charting or hospitals weren't merged as much as they are today. So Dee Dee was able to get away with this for a long time. Now, sadly, what ended up happening was that, Gypsy ended up having her mother being ended by her boyfriend at the time. And that is a whole nother story in itself because people say Gypsy used her boyfriend to do it. What people seem to forget is that this person had autism. So she knew exactly who to manipulate into ending her mother and then tried to turn around and say this person tried to, force himself upon her and force himself upon the mom and just tried to blame things on him. So finally she had to come out and just pretty much tell the truth. We're going to get into all of that. But there's a certain kind of manipulation that she was able to do, and she knew how to pick her target when it came to the situation, which is why when I talk about Gypsy Rose, I'm saying that we have a lot to unpack with Gypsy, okay? But this Munchausen by proxy, it is also, to me, let's be clear, for me, while this person has not been charged with this or a lot of other mothers, the first person I think of is Jeanette with Jazz. I mean, how can we not think of Jeanette and Jazz?
But with her, I'm worried about like her mental well-being and her dilation. The minute she leaves my house, we have a dilation problem.
That is a concern. When you don't have that watchful eye, they tend to go back to old patterns.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will. But Jazz is bad. Even when I'm home once a day. I will be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up.
Oh my God.
Wring her neck. Can you imagine?
One more time. What did she say?
It's bad.
So I had to use the Tim Pool clip for this, but just you see what's happening. Basically, so you see, here's Jeanette. This is now Gypsy. It's almost like Dee Dee handed her, God forgive me. It's almost like Dee Dee handed her the crown and said, now it's your turn. Why don't we graduate this title to something that can never be chastised, even though it should be. You see what this mother is saying. I will jam it in there and all of this. Why would you put your child through this? I mean, we go through this on the channel about what Jazz has been through when it comes to this situation.
We're just very typical with an extraordinary circumstance because we have a daughter that's transgender, which is very rare.
There he is.
The boy for sure.
Before Jazz was named Jazz, Jazz was named Jaren. That was Jazz's birth name.
Yeah. My foursome, my four men. Look at my four men.
Give me five.
I'd like to stop time right now.
When I heard we were having a boy,
Look at that beautiful thing.
I was ecstatic. I mean, I like having little guys to throw baseballs around with and kick soccer balls and throw a football.
You had a foursome for tennis and for golf.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep you, little guy. You have baby.
I'll never forget one day I was at the computer and Jazz came up to me and she said, Mom, when is the good fairy going to come with her magic wand and change my penis into a vagina? And I
mean, so, we don't need to go any further. We hear the story. Every time she tells a story, it kind of switches up a bit. This time she didn't add the age. She didn't say that Jazz was 2 years old when he said this. So, it's just a lot. But the point is the difference now here with Jazz and Gypsy, both of these kids, they definitely were targeted by their mothers. It is such a sad dynamic because they're both destroyed as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to get into that with Gypsy. I'm kind of jumping ahead, right? But to me, I believe that Gypsy is destroyed. Okay. But Jazz is destroyed mentally and physically to me. Now, in the name of God, God can make anything happen. Jazz can definitely still, find a way to find some balance. I just think that, Jazz would need the Lord to help with that. Okay, but no, I know that, you know, like, because I mean, again, you know, look back on my other episodes, we talk about all the medications, everything else that's going on, you know, all of the estrogen, the puberty blockers, everything, the mindset, the this, the that, and then the narrative. So I have actually more, if you will, I hate to use the word pity, but I feel worse for Jazz. Gypsy. Now, if you would have told me Gypsy kind of ended her mother like in a crazy rage, I'm not saying it would be better, but for me, maybe it would be more, not to, I don't want to say words like understandable, but to manipulate another low IQ person, sadly, to do something like that, I have a problem with it. And Gypsy's at the point where she's like, you know, I've moved on with my life. I can't talk about him. And I get triggered if I talk about him. And physically, Gypsy's went through a lot, you know, yes, the silver teeth and all, but physically, Gypsy still looks okay. Physically, there's more to it than that, but mentally, we haven't seen anything yet. Let me just end with this. Gypsy has been acting all her life. You hear me? Right after the mom has her salivary glands pulled and all the pain, she's still with the smiles. Ronald McDonald House, all the interviews, acting through some very difficult and tumultuous times in her life. I mean, literally spent 20 something years, you know, all right, fine, we'll take like maybe 4 years off, right? So at least 19 years of her life, pure acting plus more, but I'm talking about, you know, up until the point where mom was ended, right? This person is very well put together today. We're going to get into all of that on this channel and get into the ins and outs of the minds of these people. But this is just scratching the surface of Munchausen by proxy. So stick around, folks. It's going to get wild. I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.